I'd like now to give the floor to Teresa Schoonings and Bruce Taylor for the next presentation. And again, I kindly ask you to be mindful of the time and as well about the speed of your speech, because we need to take into account our interpreters are following us. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. As Armando mentioned, during the first version, we had developed a case study for a brewery, and this was CEC had assembled a expert panel, and it's concluded that a lot of food loss to the sewer was overlooked because it wasn't a solid. So to illustrate the potential, we prepared a case study of a small brewery in Canada called Bose Brewery. In their particular case, they were able to achieve a 7.4% yield improvement through the opportunities identified during the study, which would have under a 1-year payback. And interestingly, they're very organic, they're very conscientious brewery to start with. And even though they're going to lose a bit on the waste to energy for some of the waste, they get back the greenhouse gas footprint that was in the supply chain before it even got to the brewery. And so that's where most of the impact is in these manufacturing facilities, is in the ingredients they're purchasing. But if you save it in the factory, you automatically save it all the way back to the agricultural step. So this one was a component of 50 assessments that we completed. So Walmart Foundation had partnered with CCFI and Provision Coalition to do co-funded assessments across Canada. So we completed 50 of them, including that brewery and bakeries and seafood and snack food and dairy and whatnot. And collectively, we're able to identify 230,000 per facility per year with under 1-year payback. So there's 30,000 homeless people in Canada. So just that study would be enough to save 500 meals each. So that gives you an idea of the magnitude of opportunity. So this is the difference between preventing food waste versus managing after it's created. Those facilities would also save $350 for every ton of carbon they avoid in their supply chain. And that was selected as one of the top 3 projects in Canada that year. And just last week, Second Harvest announced that they have financing from Walmart Foundation to go back to all 50 to determine implementation status and to help 20 of them with the implementation step. So we were asked to prepare a couple more case studies for version 2 launch. And so we've prepared one for Bimbo Canada and Smithfield in the States. Those are both available on the CEC site. In the case of Smithfield, we're able to identify 3.8 million protein servings per year. In the case of Bimbo Canada, between the 10 facilities, it's 6 million meals per year. This gives you an idea of the magnitude of the opportunity. So this is the Smithfield, and so they signed on to something called the Champions 12.3 10 by 20 by 30 initiative. So this is 12 leading grocery chains engaging 20 of their key customers, suppliers each, to reduce food waste by 50% by 2030. So in Smithfield's case, they were already diverting more than 99% of their food waste to rendering in the first place. So they were already quite a long way towards meeting that requirement. So instead, they set a voluntary goal on top of that to also reduce food waste to rendering by 50%. And so with the study at their sausage factory, we were able to identify almost 1 million pounds per year of food that didn't have to be wasted in the first place, which would reduce the food loss to rendering by 30% and preserve 3.8 million protein servings in the food supply chain. And then when you look at the impact of that to generate this protein in the first place, there's a massive footprint that you're going to avoid if you can get the same yield with less inputs. In the case of Bimbo Canada, we assessed 10 facilities across Canada. We were able to identify 1.6 million kilograms per year of bread that doesn't have to be wasted, which would save them 1.7 million and avoid 4,000 tons of greenhouse gas. Because they elected to also have us investigate water and energy conservation at the same time, we were able to identify 2.8 million of collective savings at these facilities. But we're honored to have Teresa. Oh, before I do that, I just want to give you some examples to get an idea of how these savings come about. So for example, the top right picture is the English muffin line. Whenever 2 muffins happen to hit at the same time in that pinch point there, then they would back up and fall off the line. So rather than collecting them from the floor and sending them to animal feed or something, then let's redesign that chute so that they can't get stuck there. So you're getting back and you're solving the root problem so that you, in that particular case, that would be 70,000 meals or $40,000 a year worth of English muffins. Similarly, that's a bun line, and buns were getting stuck in the pan. So in that particular case, let's send that pan out for reglazing, right? So you're getting back to the root cause again, or the bottom there. If we collect that in a sanitized container, say that's tortillas on the right, we can rework them into tortillas. And just changing the system. The food loss is a result of the system. It's either intended outcome or unintended. But if you want a different result, you have to change the system. So collectively, that's over 500,000 meals per year. So I'd like to pass it over to Teresa. So Teresa is a Senior Director of Government Relations and Sustainability for Bimbo Canada. And just to give you an idea of kind of from a corporate facility perspective.
Can you flip? Yeah. So the reason we decided to participate in this, we as a company have a focus on 3 areas: safety, quality, and waste. And we thought we were actually doing a really good job. So kind of like when you're at home and you think you know how to change everything, but then you lose sight because you see it every day. So things like the English muffin line that Bruce just showed, that wasn't something we picked up on our own. So we really needed some assistance to have a different set of eyes to come into our facilities and show us some things that we maybe weren't doing well or weren't even aware that we could change simply and get a lot of results from. We also needed some help in understanding how to measure properly and consistently. So Bruce helped us by showing us the guide, and the team actually worked with that guide and with our team as we were implementing these ideas. So, I know one of the things with webinars is how do you then take all of the information you've learned and implement it within your own site? So what we did is we started small. So as Bruce said, we've done 10 sites so far, but we plan to do the rest of our facilities in 2021. But we started with 4. So when we did the first 4, we understood what the options were, and really the payback was nothing to very small. So, we had some that got implemented right on site and was a very easy fix and saved thousands and thousands of dollars, but more importantly, saved that food from going to waste. The other part was, really understanding who would benefit from the undertaking. So making sure we explain to the teams how it would impact them and their budgets. So for example, one of the pieces was changing behaviors. Our teams were used to getting money for that waste and budgeting that as a revenue. So how do you get people to understand that there's a cost to producing it in the first place and you're actually going to save more on that end? So I would say our biggest win out of this has been really awareness and education and the opportunity to open that dialogue up within the facilities by demonstrating the wins on a consistent basis. And thank you. I know we're out of time, so we will pass that over. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Teresa and Bruce. This is a very inspiring example for other processing companies. I think it's very useful. And as consumers, I think it's also very nice to know more about what companies like you are doing and your engagement towards sustainability and reducing and preventing waste, because we want to go to the shop and doing a responsible shopping. Thanks.